DommyGun Ricci inside the Who-Bangin Sports Talk Lab, researching your betting angle of the day. Let's get started. How we doing, everybody? DommyGun Ricci here for Who-Bangin Sports Talk. We're counting down the days to the Super Bowl. A couple more days and we will be at Super Bowl 57. It should be a good one. Eagles, Chiefs. We've been talking about it for 2 weeks. Different angles, different props, different situations, different trends. Everybody has different ways of looking at it, different angles, and we're all trying to get our last bets in for the NFL season, and that's what the Super Bowl brings. Brings out the recreational bettors. It brings out the people that are just trying to make big scores. It brings out the prop players. It brings them all out. So what we're going to talk about today is something I don't really go into too much, but it's something that's important. It's something I incorporate in my game, and that is predictive models. Forecasting. According to the math. What does the math say? Who's going to win the game? Which props does the math tell you to take under, take over? We're going to go into that right here, and we're going to get started right now. The way these models work is these are a couple of different models of same three guys that I've been following for a while. They've been very good with the Super Bowls. They've picked the last 3 out of 4. They picked that last one. The Chiefs were in against the Bucks, where the Bucks were underdogs. They had the Bucks winning by 3, which a lot of people disagreed with, and that was the outcome. So they have one today that I think some people might disagree with too, but we'll see how that goes. But let me just go quickly tell you about how this model works. They use the effective scoring offensively and defensively. They took the most 10 meaningful games, and why they did it that way is because Hurts didn't play every game. So they used the games that he was in for this model and for the effective offensive scoring and defensive scoring. And they also took the last 10 meaningful games of the Chiefs. And the games they picked really is indicative of how the teams played this year. So, I'm not sure if it mattered if they used different games or not, if the numbers would come out really any different. But that's how this model was made on the last 10 meaningful games. And what they really do is they add up those 10 games. For instance, Kansas City effective offensive point, one game was 29, one game was 26, one game was 24.92, on and on and on. And same defensively. And the 10 games, add them up, divide them out, and then they use the calculation and the formula it's really a formula that I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but it's one that a lot of analytic guys use. It's one that the math has proven out that works. And it really says that the offenses creates 2/3 of the points are created by the offense, 1/3 by the defense. I mean, sounds pretty true, even if you don't have the math to show you that it works out. Makes sense, right? Sometimes simple things, you think about them, you're like, wow, I really didn't think about. But sometimes we make things more complicated. We get too involved. We try to break down games. I always think we overcap, we overanalyze sometimes, and that really could work both ways against you. Listen, if the hardest working man and if all the stats graded out always to be the same thing, we'd all be rich, right? So let's take that with a grain of salt. But what they call the effective scoring calculations grade out that the Eagles are going to win this game by 5 to 6 points. 34-26 is what the math guys say these models say it's going to be. The final score is going to be 34-26. They got the Eagles winning by 5 to 6 points, which like I said, a lot of people might not think. Listen, that point spread has been 1.5 all week, as we know. And even though the money has changed, the betting splits have favored the Eagles as far as ticket count and cash. Still, the point spreads haven't changed. I'm not sure if it will. Maybe a half a point, maybe. I'm not really sure. We know that today is Friday when I'm making this video. We know Friday, Saturday, and Sunday the game is not till 6:30 Eastern Time. So all day Sunday is when the bulk of the money is going to be coming in. Maybe not the bulk, but a good portion is going to be coming in late. So We'll see if anything changes. But that's how they have the math. That's what the math says. The math says that the Eagles are going to win 34-26. It also says it's going to be 49.5, like it could be, but 49.5 points scored in the game. So they have between 49 and 50 as the total amount of points being scored. I happen to think it's going to be going to go over that. I happen to think that the defenses ain't going to be as much involved in this game as we might think. I also have a bet in on the Eagles team total over in the first half at 12.5 points at minus 135. It's a number that I usually don't take on a team total. I usually stick to my I'm very disciplined on my numbers and what I take and what I risk, and usually I won't go over minus 120. Like in baseball, I'll never take a team total over 120, but in this game, like I say, I took minus 135, and that was with Bet Online, I believe. I put that bet in. But let's just I'll give you a couple little stats, a couple little numbers, and a couple little categories that you can use, categories that you can bet props against. That these numbers might help you. These numbers these categories I'm going over. I'm only going to go over a few categories, but they're main categories, and they all pointed towards the Eagles. And if you think about when I break it down, I say it's 1, 2, 3 or 4 categories out of Philly. It takes 3 out of those 4 categories. And one of them is just completions, where Philly's just a little bit less than KC. But what I'm going to do is going to tell you those numbers. I'm going to tell you, why it makes sense that the Eagles win this game, according to the math. And then we'll go over some of the props, and some of the players, and it'll help you guys betting under or over the number that you are trying to take. Let's see if we can find anything else that might be a little bit interesting before that. Kansas City. Philadelphia has won its last 7 games against the spread when playing at the NFC's number 1 seed in the playoffs. Now, they've been the number 1 seed every time in the playoffs last week, and they won. But their last 7 games, they were against the spread when playing as the NFC's number 1 seed. They have covered. Philadelphia's also won a 6-1 against the spread surge when avenging a loss against the team. So the Chiefs beat the Eagles 42-30 in the 2021 regular season. So technically that's called avenging a loss, and that points towards the Eagles. As far as the total, Philadelphia is on a 8-2 over. Oh, okay. Philadelphia is on an 8-2 over against AFC opponents. So Philadelphia has scored some big points against AFC opponents, and according to that, Philadelphia and the over is a pick. But there is some stats, of course, always going the other way too. Kansas City 12-3 to the under when the total in the last 15 games versus good teams with a winning percentage of 70% or more, which we know is the Eagles were 14-3. So according to that stat, KC is 12-3 to the under. But like I said, I like the over, and I like the Eagles in this game. Let me give you a couple categories for you. Completions. Kansas City, they got Mahomes 35 attempts for 23 completions. Philadelphia 34 attempts for 22 completions. So that one's close, right? And I'll give you the projection and what I used was DraftKings props to give you some comparisons, and hopefully that'll help you with some over and unders in your props. This is why I like Philly. This is one category that adds to the point of liking Philly. Time of possession. They got Kansas City at 28, almost 29 minutes of time of possession, and Philly at 31 minutes. So that's 3 more minutes of the math says that the Philly's going to have the ball 3 more minutes than the KC. That could equal up, right? That could equal up into points. That's one part. Number of plays. They have Kansas City going to run 59 plays. Philadelphia's going to run 64. So that's 5 more plays. So now we have 5 more plays run by Philly, according to the math, and 3 more minutes of time, according to the math. And then add to that total yards. They predict KC is going to have 319 total yards, and Philly's going to have 335. So now that's 240 yards more for Philly. So those three categories right there could really equate to more points and could equate to a win for Philadelphia if it grades out right. I mean, like I said, if it was only about math, right, we'd all be rich. But think about those numbers. Think about how the math is pointing to those spots, and maybe you'll come up with some. Maybe it'll help you with what you're looking to bet and what you're looking to do in this game. What else? Another thing they got was the man. I got papers everywhere. I got different stats, different odds, different things going left and right in these games. But what they did do was they graded out some props and some player props, and they compared them to the DraftKings numbers, and we could see what we think is going to be, the correct play under and over. So let me get to that right now. Okay, let's talk about the quarterbacks. I'm going to give you a projection number and then what DK odds is, and you can take it from there. Let's start with completions. I told you that we have KC. The projection is that Patty will have 23 completions. DraftKings has it at 25.5. So, according to this model, you would bet under on the completions for Patty Mahomes. As far as Hurts, it's the opposite. 22. It is close. 22 projected completions. DK has 21 completion, 21.5. So that would be over. With passing yards, now there's a little bit discrepancy here. The projection is that Patty will have 253, almost 254 passing yards. DK has it at 290.5. So that's 40 yards or so under, 37 yards or so under the projected number. Jalen Hurts projected number of 239. DK has it at 245 and a half. Again, another under. If you notice over the years in the props, especially in the Super Bowl, a lot of under props end up hitting, but a lot of people play the overs. Overs is those over numbers. Those numbers are padded. Listen, the sports books know that everybody likes to play props, and no one's only a guy who's sports better, a real handicapper, a guy who's at this every day is going to even consider looking at the under. If you're one of those so-called recreational players that try to say that they just bet for the fun of it and the money, it's their fun money and all that nonsense. They always love to go on the overs. And why I say all that nonsense is because I think sometimes that recreational thing, it's just a little rant, that recreational thing sometimes is an excuse for people not to they don't want to say why their record isn't so good in betting is because, well, I don't really take it serious. I just use fun money, blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you something, recreational or not, it's sure a lot more fun if you're winning. So I don't really go for that too much. But anyhow, that's another story. Rushing yards. Patrick Mahomes. They got Patty projected at 8.9 rushing yards. DK has it at 19.5. I thought that number was high. And if I was going to make a bet, I would definitely take under in that category. Jalen Hurts. DK has it at almost 50 yards of his rushing yards as a number. The math. This math model has Hurts projection at only 28 rushing yards, 28.7. So again, about 20 yards difference in the projection and the odds that DK's given you. Everybody think, Hurts is scrambles. Oh, he'll get over 50 yards. Not according to this projection. So again, take that. Think about that. And a lot of these projections, the projective bet to make, they give you a projection, they give you the DK odds, and they tell you their recommendation. I agree with most of them. There's a few I don't agree with, but I agree with most of them. Pacheco projected at 41 yards rushing. DK has it at 49.5. So that's under by 8-9 yards. McKinnon projected at 9.6 yards. DK has it at 23.5. That one I don't agree with. I do think that McKinnon could go over those 23.5 yards. I think he might get a couple shots where they're king on Miles Sanders and McKinnon could get. I'm sorry, they're keying on Pacheco a little bit, and why I think that under bet is good. But I think McKinnon isn't really somebody they all jump on. So I kind of like that over for him in a way. Not that I would take it. The other one I would take is the Boston Scott one. Now, if it was a good point brought out by my friend Dave Rogers. You guys all know Picks from Dave. If you don't, look him up on Twitter at Picks from Dave. He mentioned that if KC's ahead, this prop probably won't hit, and I agree with him. But I do like Boston Scott. He's projected at 13.8 yards, almost 14 yards rushing, and DK only has him at 7, a little bit over 7.5 yards. So I kind of like that one. Gainwell. That's who I was mixing up with McKinnon, by the way. Sorry about that when I was talking about Sanders. Gainwell is another one I like the over. DK has at 18.5 yards. The projection is 14 yards, but I think that Gainwell, because of Sanders, what I was saying before, getting the most of the look, that the defense will be keen on Sanders. I think that Gainwell might be able to get over that 18.5 rushing yards. Miles Sanders, DK has it at 57.5 yards with the projection of 40 yards. So that's that's 17 yards difference. So it's something to keep in mind. I know, like I said, everybody likes to go with the over, but a lot of these numbers are pointing the different way. What I did like was what I mentioned McKinnon before was getting confused. Was I like his over in receptions? They projected having 3 receptions. DK has it at 3.5, which is apples and oranges. I like McKinnon to get the four receptions or so. I think McKinnon's a sneaky guy that could get those receptions. Could be that second and third look. I kind of like that prop. But again, I will be playing more than 1 or 2 props. I did take, if you consider team total a prop, I did take the Eagles first half over 12.5 team total. Minus 135 bet online, if I didn't mention that before. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Tight ends, Kelsey projected at 6.3 yards. DK is at 6.5. I mean, I'd either leave it alone or always go over with Kelsey, right? I could never just take an under in that. But just, Devontae Smith projected at 5.5. DK has it at 5.5. So with the receptions, they're really close. Goddard projected at 4.5. DK has it at 4.5. So a lot of these guys, when it comes to the receptions, the model and the DK odds are pretty much right there. But let's just see. The tight ends, I was going to mention, the tight ends have been really raking in these playoffs and stuff. And I would keep my eye out on some of these receiving yards props. I think KC isn't going to try to run the ball so much as do those screens and stuff, and do those little short passes and those Kelce's over the middle type of thing. Kelsey's projected at 72 receiving yards. DK has him at 78. I don't know if I would touch that one. I mean, like I said, it's hard to go under with Kelsey. Goddard, somebody who I've done well with over the last few weeks with the few props that I did take. He's projected at 47 receiving yards. DK has him at 45.5, so that's pretty close. But anyhow, you get the drift. Hopefully some of those numbers help you. But the most important thing is the Eagles. They have the Eagles. Time of possession goes to the Eagles. Number of plays goes to the Eagles. Total offensive yards goes to the Eagles. And the game goes to the Eagles, 34-26, according to the model. So that's where we're at, guys. I just figured I'd go over a little math, a little model. Let's see if it comes out true. It's listen, all information helps. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit. Something I just thought I would try. Something I would go over a little bit, a little bit out of the norm, and hopefully it helps everybody. But I hope you all have a really good Super Bowl. I hope everybody stays safe, has a good time. Hopefully, no matter where you are, you win some money. And, the old saying, we'll see you at the window. Hope that's true. Anyway, this is DommyGun Ricci for Who-Bangin Sports Talk with your Bangin' Sports Pro Tip of the Day. And I will see you again tomorrow with another Super Bowl pick. Another some more tips, and I will let you know about my cross-team parlay that I've been working on for the last 2 weeks with the Eagles as my second leg, open leg of my parlays. Talk to you later. DommyGun signing off. Have a good night.